At the time, France had a surplus population of poor people. So Napoleon had fodder to throw into any battle. It was decided that the reason the Battle of Jena was lost was because the Prussian soldiers were thinking for themselves on the battlefield instead of following orders. The general mood of the Prussian nation was very somber, and indeed, they needed solutions for their problems and their predicament. Enter the Prussian philosopher Johann Gottlieb Fichte, born 62, died 1815 or 1814. He was a transcendentalist, a Rosicrucian, and a student of the works of Francis Bacon, and he wrote to the people of Prussia at the time when they were at their most, I guess, debilitated and saddest. Now, in his work entitled Addresses to the German Nation, written between 1807 and 1808, he promoted the idea of Plato and Bacon that the state is the necessary instrument of social and moral progress. As a result of these writings and all of the foregone circumstances that occurred in Prussia at that time, children 7 to 14 were forced to attend a public school. Parents were fined or their children taken away if their children did not attend. Familiar? Private schools could exist at that time only if they kept to the standards of the government schools. Thus, the fundamental purpose of German education was to forward or perpetuate the national principle: education by the state, education for the state, and education to the state. Now, Fichte taught at the University of Berlin from 1810 to his death in 1814. His concept of the state as the ultimate moral nature of the society was influential to both von Schelling and George Hegel of the Hegelian principle, who both took similar idealistic views. From the basic philosophers of Rousseau, Fichte, von Schelling, and John Locke, the Prussian aristocracy went on to establish a three-tiered educational system that was considered scientific in its nature. Work began in 1807, and the system was in place by 1819. The Prussian system, a three-tiered system construct. Of the 100%, the 1% was the aristocracy, taught in isolation from bottom. 99 to 95%. Instruction in leadership, abstract thinking, complex problem solving, and computational skills. The administrative elite, which was the next 4 in number as percentage, taught in what were known then as Realschulens. Realschulens. Partially taught abstract thinking and selective problem solving. They became the managers and protectors of the power, assets, and holdings of the aristocracy. That today is your lawyers, your CEOs, the principals and the heads of schools and colleges. And of course you have what is known as the sesquique chattel, the bottom 95%, which constitutes us and our children, especially in the black community. The bottom 95% are taught in what are known as Volksschulen, which is people's schools. The Volksschulen, where they learned obedience to authority, freedom from abstract and computational thinking. They were taught outcome-based educational solutions, consensus building, and can't we all get along? Because they had to know that you all would work together for their good. An important part of this new system was to break the link, listen carefully, between the practice of reading and the young child. Because according to the premise of the the Prussian system, a child who reads too well becomes knowledgeable and independent from the system of instruction and is capable of finding out anything. Brothers and sisters, I need for you to go through this with me. As the Prussian system became more and more entrenched into the United States, you'll begin to find out who brought it there. And when you turn to your PBS channels during so-called educational hours, all of the sponsors of the corporate area, all the old money, those are the ones who brought the Prussian system here to the United States of America. Brothers and sisters, a man named William Torrey Harris, the U.S. Commissioner of Education at that time, said to a railroad magnate who was worried about the fact that there were too many engineers, too many thinking people coming out of colleges. And he said to them, right there as it was being articulated and written down, that American schools are scientifically designed to prevent overeducation from happening. American schools are scientifically designed. He was making allusions to the Prussian system. There was a man named Friedrich Froebel. He, in the 19th century, invented kindergarten. Friedrich Froebel said, and I quote, "Kindergarten was created to be a way to break the influence of the mothers on their children. Government is the true parent of the child. The state is the sovereign over the family." These are the people who set up the education system that your children is right now here in. Brothers and sisters, I have a note for you. Go back to your education system or your educators and tell them this little ditty. New York State employs more school administrators than all of the European Economic Community nations combined. Because the farming of your children's consciousness is big business. Thomas E. Dewey, stooge of Rockefeller. Thomas E. Dewey said, and this is what we were just speaking about, independent, self-reliant people are counterproductive anachronisms in the collective society of the future. In modern society, people will be defined by their associations, the groups they belong to, not by their own individual accomplishments. In such a world, people who read too well or too early are dangerous because they become privately empowered. They know too much and know how to find out what they don't know by themselves without consulting experts. Now, what is it that your favorite Oprah program, every time they give you a problem, they bring in a damn expert? As if common sense can't tell you that, hey, you screwed up. You don't need that person to take $100 an hour to tell me that I got problems. Dr. Phil, and y'all need to stop calling me that. I don't like it, because he is a buffoon. He is there to complicate issues. He is there to promote a circus atmosphere, to make you believe in his authority to solve your problems, because you have been educated into imbecilis, into being, what is there a word called imbecility? I'm inventing it. You have become functional idiots. So you need an expert to tell you that you are an idiot. Now, here's something that I put down so that you could read. I just put it into the record for the record. It was the Prussian system, aristocracy, that concocted our present schooling system, which is based on complex fragmentations. Now listen to this. This is, it's diabolically ingenious. Listen. The present schooling system, which is based on complex fragmentations to ensure that its children would fit the grand social design. This involved dividing whole ideas into school subjects, and each further divided again, most of them involving short periods punctuated by a horn so that self-motivation and study would be muted by ceaseless interruptions. You don't learn anything in school. Pavlov's dog. When you're getting into something, ping, ding, 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 you gotta go. You're in a lab experiment. You cannot learn in those environments. So when you got them interrupted, and you've got whole ideas broken down into subjects, and you got some fool getting a PhD in one of the subjects that was broken down, you know you got an expert. The PhD is a German invention.